All right, great. So, first question is, why have you decided to run?
Well, the reason I decided to run, one of the biggest issues that I've seen over the last several years is the national debt. I'm an economist, and so I've kind of
Yeah,
predicted that in the last, probably in the next 10 to 15 years, there will be essentially an economic meltdown due to the ballooning
yeah,
national debt. And none of Washington, it's this weird sort of thing where they will address the problem, like they'll acknowledge the problem, but they never move
yeah,
to solve it. And so over the last year or so, I actually started putting forward together comprehensive reform packages that would actually reduce the deficit without having to reduce the quality and scope of the government. So that was
yeah.
one of the reasons I wanted to run is because I wanted to put forward comprehensive reforms that could really benefit the American people.
All right, great. So, what are your main priorities?
So one of the biggest priorities I have is actually a Medicaid reform package.
Yeah,
It is one that has so there are three aspects of it that I could kind of summarize.
yeah,
It will give higher quality coverage to Medicaid recipients. It will
yeah,
save the American taxpayer about $300 billion a year, and then it will reduce the overall cost of healthcare in the United States by about 20%.
yeah,
I know healthcare is kind of a really big issue for the American people
yeah.
nowadays,
It
and
is.
it's something even I've noticed over the last decade. When I first started working at Ochsner about a decade ago, I think I had a $1,500 deductible policy for about $150 a month, and today
Yeah,
it's a $7,500 deductible is like $250. It's
yeah.
ridiculous and it's insane, and there definitely needs to be some changes to it.
All right, great. So tell me a little bit more about your plans for the economy and taxes, of course.
Mhm. So taxes is an easy one. That's just one where essentially I call it the Tax Simplification Act is what my tax
Yeah,
plan is for that one. Essentially, we get rid of all special carve-outs, handouts, and any special treatments to really any and all parties. And
yeah,
with those, which will actually raise net tax revenue by about $1 trillion a year. But since I'd like to try to reduce taxes, what I'll do is I'll get rid of the special tax treatment, but I'll also
yeah,
get rid of all excise taxes, which is things like gas taxes, taxes on cigarettes or well, tobacco, alcohol, air
yeah,
travel, and several other things. Also, I'm going to get rid of the estate tax. I don't think that there should be a tax for the great sin of dying, you know. So
yeah,
there's that one. And then on top of that, I'm going to reduce the bottom marginal tax bracket from which is people making between, I believe, the current tax bracket somewhere between $12,000 and $50,000 a year. I'm going to reduce that from 12% to 6%, giving a tax
yeah,
break to all people. And my estimations show that this will still raise net tax revenue, even after all the tax cuts, will raise net tax revenue by $400 billion a year, greatly
yeah,
simplifying the tax code. And on top of that, because the tax code is so simplified, I'd like to try to add a provision in which, where since like again it's so simple that you shouldn't have to file your taxes at the end of the year because the IRS should be able to have like the technology is available nowadays to where
yeah,
employers could essentially send your information to the IRS directly. And then,
yeah,
so unless you're doing like day trading on the side or having another source of income, you wouldn't have to do any sort of filing. So April 15th wouldn't be tax day anymore for people.
yeah. All right. Some economic policies, related to businesses, supporting businesses, and what are
Mhm.
your priorities there?
So same thing. It's the
Yeah,
corporate tax side is more or less same thing. I'm going to get rid of the deductions like all credits and things like that to simplify it. Right now, the I think the effective tax rate is somewhere, depending on the business, is somewhere between 10 to 15%. The corporate tax rate in the United States is in the
yeah,
20s, but because of all the deductions and everything, it makes it they effectively pay about 10 to 15% on average. Some pay zero. So
yeah,
what I would do is I get rid of that and I just lower the corporate tax rate to about I think I have it set to 6% is I believe what I have it set for right now, we would still bring in about, we would actually expand the tax base and would raise about, and it would still bring in about $200 billion a year from corporate tax revenue. But it would
Yeah.
also have one of the lowest corporate tax rates in the world, which would encourage foreign businesses to come in and invest in the United States as well. And it would get rid of all the tax loopholes so that every corporation is paying in. So, it's one of a lot of issues people
Yeah.
have had on the left is saying that, well, these corporations are not paying anything. And so I said, okay, well, fine. Here, let's greatly simplify the tax code. Let's lower the taxes for everybody. And what this will do is, again, a simplified tax code. Instead of having to spend, millions in overhead trying to account for
Yeah.
everything, it's just all available right there.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell me a little bit more about this healthcare reform you want to implement.
Okay, so I'm going to try to get Medicare as well, but Medicaid is kind of the bigger one because
Yeah.
Medicaid it causes a lot of problems, especially for small rural areas. The problem with Medicaid is that the reimbursement rates are extremely low. Typically, you'll
Yeah.
see that that's one of the biggest contributors to losses when you're looking at the financial statements of a hospital. When I was actually working at a small rural hospital in Washington State a couple years ago, and I was in to go with the manager, and she showed me the financial statements, and the hospital brought in about $16 million a year in revenue, and they had
Yeah.
lost over $2 million that year just due to Medicaid expenses, due to Medicaid like paying beneath what the cost it was to treat
Yeah.
patients. So if they could have just broken even, they could have lowered the cost they could lower their
Yeah.
prices by
Yeah.
20%. So my Medicaid reform plan, essentially it transforms Medicaid from essentially the government providing a, shall we say, low quality service to
Yeah.
essentially creating a tax voucher programs for low income families. And these vouchers will allow for people to go out and purchase private insurance. Zero. I'm trying to get the exact number that it would be to like each family would get, but it
Yeah.
would be a $0 deductible policy, and so you would have what was formerly a large expense on hospitals. They'll actually start making money on those
Yeah.
patients now. So you'll actually see the balance sheets really start to shift in favor, and so then now that hospitals don't have to compensate for these large amounts of money being lost due to Medicaid, and in
Yeah.
fact they're actually going to be profitable now, they can start lowering their prices.
Yeah. Great. What are your stances and your views on the environment and environmental policies, rural
Mm.
communities and so on?
So typically, I believe that environmental policy should be done more on the state and local level. That's one of
Yeah.
the things
Yeah.
that's because places like Louisiana, we tend to have different needs and different environmental impacts than,
Yeah.
say, people in New York or say Kansas. So it's really one of those things that's best done at the state and local level. I tend not to really
Yeah.
like too much of the EPA. It's okay if you want to try to have something like that to solve interstate disputes of environmental impacts and
Yeah.
things like that nature. But when it comes to actually crafting environmental policy, like same things like wildlife and fisheries, it's best that people at the state and local level who understand what their needs are better than a bureaucrat that's 1,000 miles away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Mm. All right. On what about social issues, civil liberties, of course. It's very
Hmm.
important.
Yeah, well, that's actually one of the things that the whole map got redrawn for. Like, I'm not sure if you heard, but the
Yeah.
Louisiana map is being completely withdrawn now, and so they're trying to. I think they're going to try to have a new map out tomorrow, but we have no idea what the districts are looking like. Like right now, I'm running
Yeah.
for the fifth congressional district, but that might not even be my district. Like
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
idea who I'm running for at this point, and that was because of the Voting Rights Act and everything like that. Like civil liberties, it's one of those things that I think that we as a society we've made a lot of progress towards. I'd say we're more or less in a post-racial era,
Yeah.
and I don't think that the same protections were needed today as they were, say, 70 years ago. It's like 70 years ago, there was definitely where you could say, hey, there were like the Voting Rights Act that was made to stop people, that was like intentionally stopping people from just voting itself,
Yeah.
like there was, poll taxes or literacy tests, things of that nature that were putting undue burdens on people. This one is just saying, hey, you can't really use race as a way to draw up a district, and that's actually something I agree with. So
Yeah.
even though this is definitely the redrawing of the map has certainly been a huge burden on my campaign and a lot of smaller campaigns as well
Yeah.
because I literally the districts that I think I'm going to lose areas of my map like in say South Baton
Yeah.
Rouge and Ascension Parish and Livingston Parish. That's half my marketing right there, and the other
Yeah.
half of my marketing was like up in Monroe. So
Yeah.
literally half like my marketing budget just is going to get flushed regardless of which district I choose to try to stay
Yeah.
with. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. All right. Well, the first question would be, if you get elected, what are the things you would like to do on the first few days?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I could get anything done in the first few days because I'm not the kind of guy that likes to put something forward just like willy-nilly. I actually like to get the data first, do the research, and try to see exactly what
Yeah.
the impacts of everything will be. Like I've done a lot of that beforehand, but the issue right now is that like with my Medicaid reform plan, I actually need to get raw numbers and I need to use like create essentially control patients, shall we say, and create a
Yeah.
data set of 500,000 data points to try to get the numbers that I'm wanting to get. And I just don't really have the resources to get that right now. So that one
Yeah.
in of itself that's probably my first reform that I would try to go for, but it's something that my team and I would, take a considerable amount of time to try to get.
Yeah. Well, I forgot about asking about your policies on education. Sorry that I forgot.
Oh, again, that's more of a state and local issue. I think that the Department of
Yeah.
Education is kind of overbloated at this point. It's one of those departments that unfortunately has become one of those. Like Thomas Sowell talked about this. He says that the larger government gets, and or the larger a government department gets, it'll eventually start to kind of take on its own interests, and it'll start to really act in what benefits the department, not so much what
Yeah.
benefits the people that it's designed to try to help. And so I
Yeah.
think the Department of Education is one of those now. I'm not going to make the promise that a lot of other candidates are saying, like, oh, I'm going to dismantle the Department of Education. Like, no, I'm realistic in my goals. I will say that, hey, there are plans I have in the work that could try to
Yeah.
diminish the role of it, diminish some of the funding towards it, but it's not like, but as opposed to just saying, yeah, I'm just going to completely get rid of it, that's just not a feasible option. It's just
Yeah.
it's a bureaucracy that's too entrenched for me to try to
Yeah.
fix.
Yeah. Well, maybe with a a good coalition of members in Congress
Yeah.
and the Senate,
Well, the problem with
things
that
could
is
be.
though is the it's a midterm it's an off year election for
Yeah.
Republicans, and there's a very real chance that Democrats will have, if not have the lead, if even if Republicans, like I doubt Republicans like significantly gain on the majority that they do have right now.
Yeah.
So and it's real easy for Democrats just to pick off five or six Republicans and a caucus of 400 people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's anything else you want to ask me or
I don't know if there are any other policies that you have that I haven't asked about. I
No
mean,
other policy. I will say that out of all the other candidates running, I am the only one that's 100% self-funded. I've put approximately $40,000 of my own money into this campaign, and I've run it to try to run it a clean and fair campaign. I don't want to
yeah,
be bought and paid for like other politicians. So my message is simple. It's like, hey, you guys say that you want competent campaign, a competent congressman that'll really
yeah,
give real change and reform. that they're tired of politicians being bought and paid for. Well, I went ahead and I'm giving you one. Here's your opportunity right here. Let's kick big money out of our politics and let's get some competence back to Washington.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's great. Um, well, I don't have any other questions, so thank you very much again.
No, it's my
And
pleasure. Yeah, just email me the link to whenever you get it
yeah,
edited and everything. I'd
yeah,
love to
sure.
post on my Facebook and everything.
Great. Well, have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you. You have a good one too.
Bye.